Imagine someone truly brilliant, just off the charts, smart, right? IQ through the roof.
Yeah, the kind of person who can solve incredibly complex problems.
Exactly. Absorbs information like a sponge, dazzling intellect. But, and here's the thing, they constantly stumble in relationships.
Rubbing people the wrong way, maybe?
Totally. Or just, missing really obvious social cues. It's kind of frustrating to watch sometimes.
I think we've all known someone like that.
Now, flip that. Picture someone else. Maybe not the loudest person, maybe not top of the class academically.
Okay.
But they lead in a way that inspires just incredible loyalty. They navigate tricky team stuff effortlessly.
They connect with people.
Yes. They drive innovation not just with ideas, but how they connect. What is that secret ingredient? What separates them?
That's the million-dollar question, isn't it?
Well, today we're taking a deep dive into exactly that secret ingredient. Emotional intelligence. You hear it called EQ, sometimes EI.
It's become a bit of a buzzword, hasn't it? But there's real substance there.
Oh, absolutely. It's way more than a buzzword. It's a concept that has, well, fundamentally shifted how we understand success. It goes way beyond just raw intellect, the stuff we used to focus on almost exclusively.
That traditional IQ measure.
Exactly. So our mission today is to really unpack emotional intelligence. We want to explore what it actually is, why it matters so much, and in every part of your life, career, personal well-being, the whole lot.
And we're going to get into the brain science too, right?
We are. The neuroscience behind our emotions is fascinating. Why we sometimes react before we even think.
The emotional hijacking.
Precisely. And most importantly, we want to give you, our listener, some really practical, actionable insights, stuff drawn right from the research, showing how you can actually cultivate this hidden superpower for yourself.
And for your teams too, which is crucial in a work context.
Definitely. We'll look at the core principles, some really inspiring real-world examples, leaders, companies, and we'll even touch on some of the debates and, criticisms around EQ. We want you to walk away with a really solid, nuanced understanding.
Sounds like a plan. Where should we start?
Okay, let's unpack this properly. Let's kick off with a clear foundational definition. What is emotional intelligence?
At its core, EI, or EQ, is usually understood as your ability to recognize, really understand, and then manage your own emotions as they're happening.
Okay, so the internal piece first.
Right. But it doesn't stop there. It's also about your capacity to recognize, understand, and crucially influence the emotions of other people.
So reading the room, essentially, and responding effectively.
Exactly. It's like being fluent in the language of feelings, both your own and others.
What's fascinating here is how this idea really pushed back against that long-held focus on just IQ.
Oh, absolutely. For decades, we pretty much defined intelligence purely by cognitive stuff. Logic, learning speed, memory, problem solving.
That was a gold standard.
It was. We assumed that was the main driver of success. But interestingly, even way back in the 1940s, researchers started noticing something odd.
What was that?
Well, students with really high IQs didn't necessarily end up being more successful or even more satisfied in their adult lives compared to peers with, let's say, more average IQs.
Huh. So genius didn't automatically equal a great life.
Pretty much. It suggested something else was going on, a missing piece. So the idea emerged that while IQ might, get you in the door, maybe help you pass an exam or get an interview, it's often your EQ that actually propels you forward, gets you to the top. It determines how well you work in a team, handle conflicts, inspire people, manage your own stress, all that stuff vital for long-term success and fulfillment.
That distinction really changes the game, doesn't it? It just challenges that whole brain power is everything idea.
It does.
But here's where it gets really interesting for me, the neuroscience behind it. Daniel Goleman, who, really popularized EQ.
He brought it to the masses, definitely.
He talks about us having two minds, the emotional brain and the thinking brain.
Right. The emotional brain is centered in the older part, the limbic system. And deep inside that is the amygdala, that little almond-shaped bit. Goleman calls it the seat of all passion. It's our quick reaction center.
Our internal alarm system.
Precisely. And then, on the other hand, you've got the thinking brain, the neocortex. That's the more recently evolved part, responsible for rational thought, logic, self-awareness.
The part that lets us analyze our feelings, think about consequences, even have feelings about our feelings, which is pretty meta.
Exactly. Now, the evolutionary reason for having these two systems is key. Our emotions have this incredibly long history developed over maybe 50,000 human generations.
Wow, that's a long time.
It is. So while our civilization, technology, all that has changed rapidly in the last few thousand years, our basic emotional wiring, it hasn't really caught up.
Which leads to that great Goleman quote. Something about facing modern problems with Stone Age emotions.
That's the one. We too often confront postmodern dilemmas with an emotional repertoire tailored to the urgencies of the Pleistocene. It sums it up perfectly.
And that explains the neural back alley, right? I find this fascinating.
Me too. So when information comes in sight, sound, whatever I think, most of it takes the scenic route up to the neocortex for careful analysis.
The thinking brain gets to mull it over.
Right. But a smaller, faster stream of that information takes a shortcut, that neural back alley, straight to the amygdala.
Why? For speed.
Exactly. Survival. It allows for instant reactions. Think about seeing something coiled on the path ahead.
You jump back first, then realize it's just a garden hose.
Precisely. Your amygdala fired off a danger signal before your rational neocortex had time to fully process the image and say, hold on, that's not a snake. I know I've done that jump plenty of times.
Me too. Makes you feel a bit silly afterwards.
But that ancient wiring, while great for dodging predators back in the day, can cause some hitches in modern life.
Like office conflicts not quite being saber-toothed tigers.
Exactly. In moments of really strong feeling, anger, fear, even intense joy, that fast-acting amygdala can basically hijack the system. It overrides the rational neocortex.
And that's the emotional hijacking Goleman talks about.
That's it. It explains those impulsive outbursts, saying something you instantly regret, or sudden waves of anxiety that feel totally irrational, or even blurting something out in excitement without thinking it through.
Your emotions basically take the wheel before your thinking brain can grab it back.
You got it. You react first, think later.
Okay, so if the amygdala is wired for speed and survival, the goal of emotional intelligence isn't to, shut it down, is it? We can't become Vulcans.
No, absolutely not. That would be impossible and honestly not even desirable. Our emotions give us vital information, energy, motivation.
So what is the goal then?
The goal is to create a better balance, a more harmonious working relationship between the emotional brain and the thinking brain. It's about integrating head and heart.
Bringing intelligence to our emotions rather than just being swept away by them.
Exactly. It's about having more choice in how we respond, instead of just being stuck in automatic reactions.
So, okay, EQ is rooted in our ancient brain wiring, but helps us navigate the modern world. What does this actually mean for you, listening right now? Why should you really care about developing your EQ?
Well, the research strongly suggests it's like a hidden superpower, seriously, when it comes to success and just general fulfillment in life.
And that's not just, a nice thought. There's data.
There is solid data. Studies consistently show EQ is a major predictor of success, both professionally and personally. For instance, one big study by Talent Smart, they found EQ accounts for something like 58% of job performance across all kinds of jobs.
58%, that's huge.
It is, from entry-level right up to the C-suite. And if you look at broader life success, overall satisfaction, achievement, some researchers argue EQ contributes as much as 80% to those factors, far outweighing IQ's contribution alone.
80%, wow. That really forces you to rethink what being smart actually means.
It really does. It's about navigating the whole human experience, not just solving puzzles.
Okay, let's break down some concrete benefits then. What does high EQ actually do for you? First off, relationships, right? That seems obvious.
Definitely. Whether it's colleagues, clients, friends, family. High EQ helps you build much stronger, more meaningful connections.
Through empathy.
Empathy is huge, yes. But also just better communication, building rapport naturally. It leads to smoother collaboration, better teamwork, higher morale. It's really the glue that holds relationships and teams together.
And what about when things go wrong? Conflicts happen.
Right, they're inevitable.
Yeah.
But people with high EQ are just much better equipped to handle them. They can manage their own emotional reactions first, stop that amygdala hijack.
So they don't just blow up.
Exactly. Which allows them to communicate more thoughtfully, listen better, and actually resolve the issue constructively. It turns potential blow-ups into productive conversations, less tension, stronger relationships long-term.
That makes sense. It's also key for decision-making, isn't it?
Right.
Especially under pressure.
Absolutely critical. Big decisions often involve a lot of emotional noise, both yours and others. EQ lets you step back, see different perspectives.
Including the emotional impact on people.
Yes, considering the human factor.
Yeah.
It helps you weigh pros and cons more objectively, factoring in both logic and emotion, leading to fairer, more balanced, and ultimately just better decisions.
And this might be less obvious, but you mentioned health. EQ impacts physical and mental health.
Strongly. High EQ gives you better tools for stress management and resilience. You bounce back faster. This makes you less vulnerable to things like chronic anxiety or depression.
And low EQ.
Conversely, people with lower EQ often struggle to regulate their moods effectively. They might turn to unhealthy coping mechanisms, smoking more, drinking too much, unhealthy eating patterns, even self-harm in extreme cases, because they lack the internal skills to process difficult feelings constructively.
That's quite a serious link. What about for students? Anyone listening who's studying or has kids in school?
Yeah, there's a clear benefit there too. Higher EQ in students correlates with greater happiness, better social skill, more self-confidence.
So they navigate the social side of school better.
Exactly, which reduces stress, especially around exams or group projects. And feeling better socially often leads to better academic outcomes too. It's about thriving in that whole school environment, not just getting good grades.
Okay, so it impacts individuals profoundly. But you also mentioned Goleman saw a bigger picture, a societal aspect.
He did. He argued EQ has a moral and societal imperative. He saw impulse control, a key part of EQ, as the very base of will and character.
Without self-control, chaos.
Pretty much. Individuals are just slaves to their immediate reactions, which can be destructive. And empathy, understanding others' feelings. He called that the root of altruism and compassion.
If you can't feel what someone else might be feeling, it's hard to genuinely care.
Exactly. It remains intellectual, not felt.
Yeah.
So Goleman warned that a collective deficit in EQ across society can lead to this creeping sense of emotions out of control.
Which we arguably see sometimes.
Sadly, yes. Things like violence, declining civility, polarization. You could argue these stem partly from a lack of collective emotional intelligence. So developing EQ isn't just self-help, it's about contributing to healthier communities.
That's a really powerful thought. It elevates EQ beyond just personal success. Okay, so if it's this impactful, how do we actually get our heads around it? How do we break it down? Goleman's framework seems key here.
It is. Building on the earlier work of Peter Salovey and John Mayer, Goleman outlined 5 core components, or pillars, of emotional intelligence.
Pillars, okay.
And what's really crucial here is his point that these are not fixed traits. You're not just born with a certain amount of EQ.
They're skills, things you can learn.
Exactly. Learned capabilities. You can develop and strengthen them throughout your life. Now, for business applications, this model later got refined into 4 domains with 12 specific competencies, but the core idea of these pillars remains.
And they build on each other, right?
Yes. It's generally seen as a hierarchy. Mastery tends to flow from the inside out. You really need that internal self-awareness first before you can effectively manage relationships or understand others.
Okay, that makes intuitive sense. Know thyself first. So let's dig into pillar 1, self-awareness, knowing your inner world.
This really is the foundation, the bedrock of EQ. It's your ability to recognize and truly understand your own emotions, moods, values, drives as they're actually happening.
In real time.
Yes.
Wow.
And being conscious of the effect they're having on your thoughts, your behavior, and the people around you.
So it's not just feeling angry, it's knowing I'm feeling angry, and this is making me want to snap at someone.
Precisely. It also includes having a realistic view of your own strengths and weaknesses, and a solid, grounded sense of self-confidence. Not arrogance, but realistic self-belief.
Why is this the absolute starting point?
Because you can't manage what you don't recognize. Just the simple act of naming an emotion, okay, I'm feeling overwhelmed right now, can be the very first step towards managing it, understanding why, or deciding how to respond.
It creates a bit of distance, maybe.
It does. People high in self-awareness tend to be in better psychological health. They don't get stuck ruminating on bad moods. They notice them, process them, and move on.
Interesting. Are there different styles of awareness?
Yeah, John Mayer actually identified a few.
Yeah.
You've got the self-aware types. They know their emotions, tend to be positive, don't get stuck. Then the engulfed, they feel overwhelmed, helpless, unsure what they feel, little control. And the accepting, they're aware, but don't really try to change their emotions.
And there was that other term, alexithymia.
Right, alexithymia. That's where people genuinely struggle to identify or put words to their feelings at all. They still have emotions, but they can't easily access or describe them. Makes relationships very challenging.
Wow, that really highlights how vital just knowing your own feelings is. Which leads perfectly into pillar 2, self-regulation, mastering your responses.
Exactly. This flows directly from self-awareness. It's the ability to control or redirect those disruptive emotional impulses and moods.
So not letting the anger hijack you.
Right. It's about creating that pause, that space between feeling something and acting on it, thinking before you leap, expressing emotions appropriately, not just reacting impulsively or bottling them up entirely.
It's about healthy management.
Healthy management, taking initiative, adapting to change, all stem from this. Self-regulation lets you channel negative feelings, like frustration or anxiety, into something productive rather than destructive.
Choosing how long an emotion lasts, as Goleman put it, not being a passion slave.
That's the idea. Key signs of strong self-regulation are things like trustworthiness, integrity, being comfortable with ambiguity, because if you can manage your internal state, external uncertainty is less threatening.
Okay, give me some practical examples. How do you actually do self-regulation?
Well, for anger, you might consciously try to catch the thought that sparked it and challenge it, or physically remove yourself, walk away, get some air.
Create physical distance.
Yeah. For anxiety, acknowledge the worry, but then actively assess the real likelihood of the feared outcome. Challenge the catastrophizing.
Bring logic back online.
Exactly. And for feeling down or melancholic, challenge those repetitive negative thoughts, the rumination, and deliberately schedule pleasant activities or distractions to shift your focus.
Yeah.
It's about actively engaging your thinking brain to manage your emotional brain.
That pause seems absolutely crucial. It's where the choice happens. Okay, pillar 3, motivation. The drive beyond just external rewards.
Yes. Goleman defines this as a passion for achievement that isn't just about money or status or praise. It's deeper than that.
Intrinsic motivation, coming from within.
Precisely. It's the drive to pursue goals with energy, persistence, and optimism, especially when you hit roadblocks or face failure. And it's aligned with your personal values, your sense of purpose.
Why is this considered part of emotional intelligence?
Because it requires managing emotions related to setbacks and long-term goals. It fosters a strong achievement drive, commitment, and that critical ability to delay gratification.
Ah, the marshmallow test.
Exactly. That classic experiment showed kids who could resist eating one marshmallow immediately to get two later. They ended up being more socially competent, better at coping with frustration, more successful overall down the line.
So delaying impulses linked to EQ and future success.
Absolutely. Things like positive thinking, optimism, seeing setbacks as temporary. These are emotional skills.
Yeah.
They stop you from getting derailed by anxiety or depression when things get tough. Your inner drive becomes resilient.
It's like having an internal compass guiding you, not just chasing shiny objects.
Okay, pillar 4, empathy.
Yeah.
Understanding others' emotional landscape.
This is a big one. It's the ability to understand the emotional makeup of other people, and importantly, to treat them according to their emotional reactions.
So not just understanding, but responding appropriately.
Yes. It involves tuning into those unspoken cues, tone of voice, facial expressions, body language, which, amazingly, can carry up to 90% of an emotional message.
90%. Wow. So words are only a fraction of it. A small fraction, often. Empathy is also about genuinely taking someone else's perspective, trying to see the world through their eyes, sensing their needs, even if they don't state them directly.
Why is empathy so fundamental?
Well, it's vital for building and maintaining basically all relationships. Goleman calls it the root of altruism and compassion. And fascinatingly, we seem to be born with a capacity for it.
Like babies crying when other babies cry.
Exactly. That mirroring response shows an innate connection. But its development is heavily influenced by early experiences.
How so?
Parental attunement, how well caregivers recognize and respond to a child's emotions, is critical. If a child's feelings are consistently ignored or dismissed,
They learn not to show them, or even feel them.
yes, it can dampen their empathic capacity later in life. Conversely, intense emotional abuse can sometimes lead to children becoming hyper-aware, hyper-vigilant to others' emotions.
But not out of empathy, more like self-protection.
Exactly, as a survival mechanism to detect threats. So, true empathy is a skill that needs nurturing.
That's a really important distinction between hypervigilant and genuine empathy. Okay, finally, pillar 5, social skills. EQ in action.
Right, this is where it all comes together. It's emotional intelligence put to work in your interactions. It's about being proficient at managing relationships, building networks, influencing people, moving them in a desired direction.
Goleman called it friendliness with a purpose.
Yeah, I like that phrase. It's not just about being nice or popular. It's about treating people well while building rapport to achieve goals, personal or organizational. It's about effective influence.
What does this look like in practice?
Strong communication, handling conflict well, inspiring leadership, fostering collaboration, Without good social skills, even a brilliant person can seem arrogant or clueless, undermining their own effectiveness.
And you mentioned emotional contagion. We catch feelings.
We do. We subconsciously absorb and mirror the emotions of those around us. In any interaction, usually the person who's more emotionally expressive or intense tends to set the emotional tone.
So leaders can literally influence the mood of their team.
Absolutely. That ability to shape others' feelings is a key leadership skill. Goleman saw it as a form of dominance, but in an intimate, emotional sense, driving the collective emotional state.
We also learned display rules, you said, how to show emotion.
Yes, from a very young age. Unspoken cultural rules about, say, minimizing sadness in public or maybe exaggerating happiness or avoiding direct disagreement. How well we learn and navigate these social strategies is a big part of our overall EQ.
That makes so much sense. It really goes beyond just basic politeness. Okay, let's look at some real-world examples. It's one thing to talk about pillars, but what does high EQ actually look like in action, especially from leaders?
Great idea. A really strong example is Sundar Pichai, CEO of Google's parent company, Alphabet. Hugely successful, obviously.
Definitely.
And a lot of Google's success under him is attributed to his EQ. He's known for humility, empathy, really connecting with employees.
How does that play out practically?
Well, think about cultivating psychological safety. There was a time Google had intense internal debate over a new product. Engineers were divided. Pichai didn't just dictate the answer.
What did he do?
He listened actively to the dissenters, held open forums to understand the emotions driving the resistance, then patiently explained the strategic why, acknowledging concerns while guiding them.
So respecting the feelings, not just the arguments.
Exactly. That blend of analysis and human understanding allowed Google to navigate that potential crisis, maintain trust, and keep innovation flowing even with disagreement. That's high EQ leadership.
That's a great example of balancing head and heart. Another one that comes to mind is Stephen Bartlett.
Ah, yes. The social chain founder, now famous for his podcast, The Diary of a CEO.
Right. He built a massive company incredibly young, and he often says, the best leaders lead with an understanding heart.
And his podcast really showcases his EQ, doesn't it? Especially his self-awareness.
Totally. He's incredibly open about his own journey. Struggles with imposter syndrome, anxiety, the pressures of leadership. He interviews high-profile people, but often shares his own vulnerabilities, too.
Which makes him incredibly relatable.
Exactly. That willingness to be open creates this authentic connection. It signals to others it's okay to be human, it's okay to struggle. That fosters huge psychological safety. It's a powerful demonstration of EQ.
If we connect this back, these examples show how things like empathy, self-awareness, social skills, self-regulation, they aren't just abstract ideas. They're tools that highly effective leaders use strategically.
To shape culture, build safety, navigate challenges.
And ultimately achieve major business results. It's not just soft stuff, it's strategic leadership.
And it's not just individual leaders, right? Whole companies are getting on board with EQ.
Increasingly, yes. They see the competitive advantage. Let's look at some of those corporate transformations.
Okay.
L'Oreal, the cosmetics giant, the classic case study. They actually changed how they hired salespeople.
How so?
They started focusing less on just qualifications and more on emotional competencies. Could the candidate genuinely understand customer needs? Did they have that internal drive?
So hiring for EQ, did it work?
Big time. The salespeople hired using the EQ criteria dramatically outsold the others by over $91,000 per person per year on average.
Wow. That's a tangible ROI.
Absolutely. And what's more, their first-year turnover rate was 63% lower than the traditionally hired group. Clear financial benefit and better retention. Hard to argue with that.
No kidding. That's powerful evidence. What about Microsoft? You mentioned Satya Nadella earlier.
Right. When Nadella took over as CEO in 2014, Microsoft had this reputation for being quite aggressive, internally competitive, siloed.
Yeah, I remember that perception.
He set about changing that culture, centering it on empathy. Empathy for customers, partners, and especially for employees. He modeled it himself, made EQ assessments part of leadership development, famously responded to an AI fail, not with blame, but with how can we learn?
Shifting from know-it-alls to learn-it-alls, as he put it.
Exactly. And that shift unlocked huge collaboration, innovation. Microsoft's market cap soared. Employee morale improved significantly. It shows empathy from the top can genuinely transform a culture.
It really can. Another fascinating one is Indra Nooyi at PepsiCo.
Ah, the letters.
Yes, tell us about the letters. It's such a unique example of social skill and empathy.
It really is. After visiting her mother in India, who was beaming because people were praising her for raising such a successful daughter, Nui had this insight about the role parents play.
Okay.
So she started writing personal handwritten letters to the parents of her senior executives, thanking them for the gift of their child to PepsiCo.
Handwritten letters to the parents. That's amazing.
Unconventional, right?
Yeah.
But deeply empathetic. It built incredible loyalty and morale among her top team. They felt seen and valued as whole people, not just employees. Her high approval ratings reflected that deep connection.
What a human touch. Just brilliant. And one more quick example, Optus, the telco.
Yeah, they needed a cultural shift for innovation, so they implemented a specific EQ leadership development program.
And the results.
Pretty clear improvements. A 16% rise in leadership effectiveness, 6% more employee engagement, 6% better customer focus. An engineering director there said the organization just worked better together. More trust, easier collaboration.
So investing in EQ directly improved how the company functioned.
Absolutely. If you connect all these stories, the message is clear. Embedding EQ development into your company's talent strategy isn't just a nice extra.
It drives real results.
Bottom line results, competitive advantage, and can genuinely transform the culture. The value is tangible, not just theoretical.
It's really inspiring to hear those stories, especially because the most empowering thing about EQ is that it's not fixed.
Exactly. It's learnable.
You can develop it, improve it at any stage of life, whether you're 20 or 70. That means you have the power to cultivate your own emotional intelligence.
That's the key message. And it's not like a one-off training course you tick off a list.
It's ongoing.
It's a continuous process, really, a cycle. It needs that individual internal work, reflection, mindfulness, but also external practice, like getting feedback, trying things out in group settings.
So inside work and outside practice feed each other.
Precisely. It creates this reinforcing loop. That's how you get real, lasting behavioral change. You're literally building new neural pathways, not just trying to remember tips.
Okay, let's get practical then. What are some individual strategies people can use to build their EQ, maybe using Goleman's pillars as a guide? Let's start with self-awareness again.
Good starting point. One classic technique is reflective journaling. Just regularly writing down feelings, thoughts, reactions without judging yourself.
What did that achieve?
It helps you spot patterns, identify triggers. You start to see how your mood affects your decisions or how you interact. It's like training your thinking brain to observe your emotional brain more clearly.
Makes sense. What else for self-awareness?
Mindfulness and meditation are huge. Practicing deep breathing, body scans, or just sitting quietly focuses you on the present moment, on your internal state. It calms the system and strengthens that connection between your two minds.
Becoming more attuned.
Exactly. And simpler still, just do regular emotional checkups. Pause a few times a day. How am I feeling right now? Where do I feel it in my body? Ask if feelings flow or if you tend to block them. Simple questions can reveal a lot.
Okay, so awareness first. Then, for self-regulation, managing those feelings.
The pause technique is fundamental. Feel a strong emotion rising, that amygdala kicking in. Practice pausing before reacting. Deep breath, count to 10, whatever works.
Create that gap.
Yes, that crucial gap between stimulus and response. It lets your rational brain catch up, stops you making permanent decisions based on temporary feelings. It's taking back control.
What about negative thoughts?
Actively reframe negative thoughts. Challenge those assumptions. Is it really a catastrophe? Is there another way to look at this? It's like that saying, you can't stop birds landing on your head, but you can stop them nesting.
Cognitive restructuring. Choosing more helpful thoughts.
Exactly. And finally, for self-regulation, develop a stress management routine. Healthy coping mechanisms, exercise, hobbies, nature, deep breathing, build resilience. Managing stress is step one because chronic stress hijacks your ability to regulate emotions effectively.
Got it. Moving on to motivation, that inner drive. How do you cultivate that?
First, clarify your why. Connect your daily grind to your bigger goals and values. Why does this task matter in the grand scheme? Understanding the purpose fuels intrinsic motivation, making you more resilient when things get boring or tough.
It links effort to meaning.
Right. Also, set SMART goals specific, measurable, achievable, relevant, time-bound. Breaking big goals into smaller steps creates momentum. Each little win gives you a dopamine hit, reinforcing the effort.
Celebrate small victories.
Absolutely. And critically, cultivate a growth mindset. See challenges and failures not as proof you're incapable, but as learning opportunities. Focus on improvement. This reframes setbacks emotionally, making you more resilient.
Okay, next. Empathy. Understanding others. How do we boost that?
Practice active listening. Seriously, when someone speaks, put everything else aside. Focus fully on them, words, tone, body language. Don't just plan your reply.
Really hear them.
Yes, maybe paraphrase back. So if I understand correctly, you're feeling. Ask clarifying questions. This deep processing helps you grasp their perspective and underlying emotions.
What else?
Actively try to put yourself in their shoes. Before judging, consciously think, why might they be acting this way? What could be their experience? It engages your empathy circuits.
Perspective taking.
And pay attention to nonverbal cues. Remember that 90% figure. Watch facial expressions, listen for tone shifts, notice body language. Put your phone away, be present. You'll pick up so much more emotional information.
Right, the unspoken stuff. Finally, social skills, putting it all together.
This is where practice comes in. Practice communication skills. Seek chances to speak up, lead meetings, handle difficult conversations. The more you do it, the better you get.
Build that muscle.
Exactly. Also, consciously build rapport. Get to know people beyond just work talk. Ask open-ended questions. Show genuine interest. It builds trust and connection.
What about conflict?
Learn conflict resolution techniques. Read about it. Maybe take a workshop. See disagreements as chances to strengthen relationships by navigating them well, not just things to avoid. And related to that,
Yes.
be willing to apologize when needed. Admitting mistakes, taking accountability. It shows humility and integrity. People respect that and are drawn to it.
Good point. What else builds strong social skills?
Keep your commitments, big or small. Build a reputation for reliability. That's foundational trust. Also, praise others sincerely. Acknowledge their efforts. Focus on the good. It builds morale and inspires people.
Giving feedback.
Give helpful feedback. Frame it constructively. Focus on behavior that can change. Offer solutions. Do it privately and with sensitivity. Help people grow. Don't just criticize.
And helping in general.
Help others. Offer assistance. It builds trust, reciprocity, makes people want to follow your lead because they see you're invested in collective success. And don't forget to use humor and play. Lightness helps perspective, builds connection.
Good reminders. And starting and ending the day.
Begin and end positively. A simple morning ritual, ending the day noting things you're grateful for. It sets a positive emotional tone, making you a more effective and pleasant social interactant.
Those are great individual tips. Now, how can teams foster collective EQ using those same pillars?
Yeah, you can apply the same principles at a group level. For team self-awareness, try starting meetings with a quick check-in, just a word or sentence from each person about their current state.
Creates awareness of the team's emotional temperature.
Exactly. Also, team 360-degree feedback done constructively and maybe anonymously helps everyone understand their impact on the group dynamic. And crucially, creating safety to discuss the elephants in the room, those unspoken tensions, brings issues into the open.
Okay. What about team self-regulation?
Establish clear communication norms. Agree up front how the team will handle disagreements respectfully. Sets the rules for emotional engagement.
Prevents hijackings.
Hopefully. Also, practice after-action reviews. Debriefing projects not just on tasks, but on how the team felt and managed emotions during the process. And encourage breaks and time off. A burnt-out team is not an emotionally regulated team.
Makes sense. For team motivation.
Develop a compelling team vision, a shared purpose everyone buys into. That aligns individual drives into collective energy.
A reason to pull together.
Right. Recognize and celebrate team achievements, both individual contributions and group wins. Reinforces positive effort. And provide opportunities for growth. Training, new challenges, keeps the team engaged and feeling progress.
And team empathy. How do you build that collectively?
Encourage open dialogue and diverse perspectives. Foster a culture where people feel safe sharing different views, even dissenting ones. Requires active listening from everyone.
Hearing all the emotional landscape.
Yes. Maybe try having team members walk a mile in a colleague's shoes, shadow their role for a bit. Builds real understanding of their pressures. And practice empathetic communication as a team norm using phrases like, I hear you. I can see why you'd feel that way.
Validating feelings. Finally, team social skills.
Promote collaborative projects where people have to work together interdependently. Forces interaction and negotiation.
Not just working side by side.
Right. Invest in team-building activities that genuinely build trust and camaraderie, not just awkward forced fun. Builds those informal bonds. And provide training on communication and influence skills so the team can navigate internal and external relationships effectively.
Turns friction into productive energy. Great practical tips for teams. Now, shifting focus slightly, let's talk about Goleman's impact. He didn't invent the term EQ.
No, that was Peter Salovey and John Mayer academically.
Right. But Goleman undeniably launched it into the mainstream, especially in business.
Oh, absolutely. The Harvard Business Review called EQ a revolutionary paradigm-shattering idea, largely because of his work challenging the IQ-only model.
And his 1995 book was huge, named one of Time's most influential business books.
It really broadened the definition of effectiveness. His research across hundreds of companies was compelling too, finding that for top leaders, something like 80% of the competencies differentiating superior performance were EQ-related.
80%, compared to only 20% for technical skills and IQ.
It was a powerful finding. And a key strength of his model was its simplicity. It was accessible, applicable for managers, for everyone, not just academics.
That explains its massive impact. But it hasn't been without criticism, has it? What are some of the nuances or pushback from the academic world?
That's important to acknowledge, definitely, for a balanced view. One major criticism is the overlap with personality traits. Some researchers argue that what Goleman calls EQ isn't really a separate intelligence, but overlaps significantly with established personality factors like how neurotic someone is, or how extroverted or conscientious. Are we just relabeling personality?
Interesting point.
Goleman's mixed model, with its long list of competencies, has also been criticized for being maybe too broad. Does it stretch the definition of emotional intelligence too far beyond just core emotional abilities?
Diluting the concept?
Potentially. And interestingly, Solovey and Mayer themselves, the originators, have been critical of Goleman's popularization. They feel the term got applied too broadly in business, mixing abilities with personality traits in a way that diverges from the stricter scientific definition they proposed.
So, a disagreement between the originators and the popularizer?
Essentially, yes. Other criticisms touch on things like a lack of theoretical neatness in the model, definitions shifting over time, and sometimes claims about EQ's predictive power perhaps being overstated without rigorous proof in every case.
It's important for us as learners to know about these debates. It doesn't necessarily invalidate the concept's usefulness, but it encourages a more critical, nuanced view, like sharpening the lens.
Exactly. The academic debate helps refine things. But despite these debates, the real-world evidence, especially from those case studies we discussed.
L'Oreal, Microsoft, FedEx.
Right. They paint a pretty clear picture. These organizations have seen measurable returns from integrating EQ into how they hire, develop, and lead people. The value isn't just theoretical, it drives tangible results.
And looking ahead, with AI and automation becoming more prevalent,
These uniquely human skills that make up EQ collaboration, empathy, resilience, building trust, they become even more valuable.
the things machines can't do.
Precisely. They become the ultimate competitive differentiator. You can't outsource empathy to an algorithm.
So the bottom line is cultivating emotional intelligence isn't just a soft skill, a nice to have.
Not at all. It's really a strategic imperative. For your own well-being, for effective leadership, and for achieving sustainable success in the world we live in now.
Wow, what a deep dive that was. We've really covered a lot of ground on emotional intelligence, from the brain science and Goleman's pillars to inspiring real-world examples and practical strategies.
And touched on the nuances and debates, too.
Definitely. We explored the foundations, saw its impact in companies like Microsoft and PepsiCo, broke down those individual and team strategies, and acknowledged the ongoing discussions, hopefully giving you a really comprehensive picture. So what does all this mean for you, listening right now? As you think back over our conversation, maybe consider which of those 5 pillars, self-awareness, self-regulation, motivation, empathy, or social skills, resonates most strongly with you at this moment.
Where do you see the biggest opportunity for growth, perhaps? Or what feels most relevant to your current challenges?
Exactly. And then here's a little challenge. Pick just one small, actionable step from all the strategies we talked about. Maybe it's trying that reflective journaling for a week.
Or practicing the pause technique the next time you feel frustrated. Or focusing on active listening in your next important conversation.
It's one small thing. Commit to trying it consistently over the next few days or week. Remember, small, consistent efforts are often what lead to the biggest breakthroughs in building these skills. It's about practice, not perfection.
Well said.
And here's a final thought to leave you with. In a world that seems increasingly driven by data, by AI, by constant digital connection, maybe, just maybe, our most powerful tool for real human connection, for leadership, for lasting success, lies not just in what we know, but profoundly in how we feel, how we manage those feelings, and how genuinely we connect with the feelings of others. What will you do with your emotional intelligence?